Round second デスゴング
In the world of ink and animation, we encounter beings who defy the laws of nature, wielding powers that challenge the very fabric of our understanding. These are not your average protagonists. They step into the spotlight already equipped with abilities that dwarf the might of their peers. Welcome back to Animeology, and today, we're going to uncover overpowered main characters with potentials as limitless as the stars. So, let's jump right in. Number 10, chillin' in my 30s after getting fired from the Demon King's army. Some may argue that loyalty far outweighs anything a troop could bring to an army. However, such is not the case with Dariel, whose unquestionable loyalty was challenged due to his overwhelmingly minute magical potential. Now, Dariel was in fact part of a world where demons and heroes were inborn nemesis, serving in the Demon King's army while being raised directly under one of the 4 heavenly generals. Things weren't looking too bad for our hero, and that did stand to be true until the general retired and his son, Bazbarza, took over. The new general wasted no time and stripped our MC of his role, leaving him to wander aimlessly. However, soon after, Dariel met a girl named Malika, and she was kind enough to invite him to her village.
なんで?
はぐれないようにするためです。
他に手段はありませんか?
At the village, it was revealed that our protagonist was, in fact, a human, and as per the plot's convenience, Dariel was no regular individual, as his potential for human magic far outweighs that of even heroes. With a taste of power that had previously been written off as a delusion, what would be Dariel's next move?
奥の手を使うことになるとはな。
Number 9, Ayaka. Our story revolves around Yukito Yanagi, a man who's been blessed with an extraordinary ability but is unable to tame it to his advantage. At the age of 5, our protagonist had to be separated from his family due to a volcanic eruption. However, much later, he was brought back to his birthplace due to his late father's wishes. That is where he takes his first step into the supernatural learning of mysterious creatures that go by the name Matama. These creatures were keen on feeding off of negative emotions to further evolve into aratama. And trust us when we say this, these beasts were not to be trifled with, unless you had a death wish over your head. But of course, none of this was that easy to absorb for the bemused high schooler. He also managed to learn that his father too was a lay master, someone with a magical affinity that is used for the purpose of pacifying the aratama. With a burning desire to follow in his father's footsteps and to finally control the power that had led him to isolation, Yukito vows to protect the peace of his island. Number 8, the reincarnation of the strongest exorcist in another world. Trust has always been the biggest weakness of the strong, and nobody understands this better than Seika Lamperouge, because despite being the strongest exorcist, he lost his life at the hands of the very people he sought to protect. With his final breath, the spell was cast, allowing him to reincarnate to another world with the promise to be more cunning in his next life. Being born as an illegitimate son of a noble family, Seika makes full use of his spiritual knowledge to compensate for his lack of magical aptitude. Despite being ignored most of the time, Seika isn't phased in the slightest and instead improves his knowledge by the passing day. This knowledge allows him to make multiple allies as he looks forward to his journey ahead. However, he must stay cautious by not letting the past repeat itself. Number 7, the Kingdoms of Ruin. We've all experienced the individual thrill of fantasy and sci-fi, but what if the two were to join hands to form a show unlike any other? In an era where the magic bestowed by the courtesy of the witches was being overtaken by scientific gear. With an ambition to free humanity from the curse of magic, the Redia Empire was malevolently ruthless in this pursuit, going as far as to kill any witch on sight, without a hint of mercy. Among those witches was Chloe, a girl who was dearly loved by her apprentice. Our protagonist, Adonis, was only a mere teenager when the woman he loved was taken away from him. As the poor witch was shamed and killed in a crowd of thousands, our MC was forced to witness it all take place in real time. Finding himself the most incensed he's ever been, he vows to take revenge, therefore leading to the creation of the worst calamity mankind could have hoped to witness. Number 6. Malevolent Spirits, Mononogatari. Could you ever see yourselves loving something that took everything from you? Sounds incredibly taxing, right? Well, Hyomo Kunado is on the same journey. After his siblings were killed by an evil spirit, his hatred for their kind had grown to untold heights. Now, these spirits, aka the Tsukumogani, were not evil by nature. They were simply children with too much power, not knowing the difference between right and wrong, meaning that it was in fact possible to reason with these creatures without any need for unnecessary violence. Being a Sainome, Hyoma too was tasked with sealing such spirits. However, his hatred had already exceeded expectations as he always chose violence no matter the solution. Noticing this, his grandfather tasked Hyoma to live with the family of a single human and 6 Tsukumogani. After being threatened with being exiled from his inheritance, our protagonist agrees to the condition. What will become of Hyoma as he now has to live with the thing he loathes the most? Number 5. Mashall, Magic and Muscles. In a world where one's affinity for magic is identified by a distinct marking on their face, we have Mashall. Our MC was born free of such marking and was instead gifted with immense physical strength. Despite all this, he lives a quiet life with his adoptive father. The reason was quite simple. Those who are unable to practice magic are subject to extermination as the world itself is magic dominant. And as fate would have it, their little secret could not stay hidden for much longer. After the authorities had made their way to confront Mashall, he was given an ultimatum: either be subject to everyday prosecution or enroll in the Magic Academy to become a divine visionary. Not wanting to cause much trouble for his foster father, Mashall agrees to the offer. This leads to the start of a whole new life for our protagonist as he continues to shock everyone with physical power that's strong enough to slap around even the strongest of magic. Number 4. High Card. Who would have thought that a set of cards was all that was needed to acquire a superhuman ability for yourself? Finn Oldman was no different from a novice. After wanting to find sufficient funds for his orphanage, our MC set out to the casino in hopes of getting what was needed. However, after he fails to acquire a mysterious card, he scouted to become a member of a group that goes by the name High Card. The group's primary goal is to collect all of the 52 cards that were scattered across the Kingdom of Fourland. These were no ordinary cards, as they had the ability to grant unnatural abilities to their users. Considering the threat of his involvement with the cards, our MC is more than inclined to do their bidding. However, little does he know that a frenzied battle is about to begin. Number 3. Kamikatsu, working for a god in a godless world. having to forcefully participate in a ritual because your father runs a cult can be quite a pain. And so, our narrative starts with Yukito Urabe being thrown into a bottomless ocean. This was done in hopes of the imaginary god Mitama coming to his rescue. Curiously enough, Yukito reawakens in another world where there is no concept of spirituality. He soon met with Aru, who guides him to her village, where our protagonist decides to live a peaceful rest of his life. That is, until he witnesses the horrific end-of-life system where an individual can be killed at any given moment as per the king's orders. If that wasn't the only evil, then be aware, because Aru and her sister's time came soon after. Determined to protect the girls, Yukito rushed to their rescue. Once there, Yukito found himself helpless against the Knights of the King. Just when all hope was lost, a prayer was made to Mitama on instinct, and from the heavens came a little girl annihilating everything that posed a threat to our protagonist and his friends. With a literal deity by his side, there's no telling what this new world may have in store for Yukito. Number 2, Shounen Frontier. Ever heard of an abnormally skilled gamer that can beat almost any game with their top tier gaming skills? Rakuro Hizutome is the perfect living example of this statement. Being a high schooler, he finds himself to be indifferent to others, with his primary interest being sensely beating trashy games. This man could play anything. Don't take him for a fool, because his gaming skills have no equal, a messiah of gamers. And with the newly released VR, Hizutome wastes no time as he jumps right to action. However, Shounen Frontier was a game unlike any other with an insanely high difficulty. Would even the master of gaming be able to overcome the challenges of the newly released VR? And most of all, would his love for gaming still stick after he's done with the game? Number 1, The Eminence in Shadow. We all aspire to be something as a child. Some keep those aspirations while some discard them. Our protagonist was one of the keepers, as he's been fixated on becoming as strong as humanly possible. His ambitions weren't like any other, as he only wished to blend with crows in the day, but during the night, he'd equip himself with crowbars and go on to thrash local bikers. However, no matter what he did, he could never go beyond human limitations. For instance, no matter what he does, he could never survive a nuclear bomb. Concerned over these thoughts, he found himself in a truck accident. This allowed for his reincarnation in another world where his ambitions could actually be brought to life. With the power of magic, that is. Our MC takes on the persona of a man named Shadow and frees some girls from a curse, forming an organization that goes by the name Shadow Garden. Shadow Garden's intended purpose was to battle against the cult of Diablos, a man that was inspired by Sid's surroundings. However, it was soon revealed that this was no joke, as the cult actually existed in real time. How will Sid and his comrades deal with the reality of their situation now?
授業で習わなかったのかな? 空は我が支配下にある。獣よ、しかとその身に刻め。